Episode 4.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. All right, we're live.
Yeah, more business as usual now.
Okay. We're going to try to have some good energy today.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get pumped up. Yeah. I got some hot tea.
We've been in bad moods all morning, so.
Yeah, it's just been gloomy weather.
Gloomy and busy.
Home all day yesterday.
Yeah. So, but we're here and it's exciting.
Yeah, we've gotten some really good feedback so far, so appreciate people giving some input and some guidance, because it's like, what do you want to hear? What do you want to hear more about?
What have they said? I don't know.
I mean, we've had great feedback, and really people enjoying it.
People have reached out, which has been really nice.
That we've had good chemistry. That's nice to hear.
Yeah. We're not duds. Yeah.
I heard from our pastor, Tyler, this morning. He sent an update from Grace Fellowship. Him and the main pastor, Jim, were traveling through Vegas, and they got a shot together in front of a bunch of slot machines. So it was like two pastors in Vegas. Sounds like a bad joke, but to start. But he said he had listened and he learned a lot about us, even though he already knew.
He actually reached out to me. Yeah.
That's nice.
So, awesome.
I want to talk more about Grace and Tyler and everything as we progress through. We mentioned that early in the season here, that it's something we want to share the journey of.
Yeah, our own journey.
Without pushing religion.
Preachy.
Yeah, exactly.
And it doesn't matter what other people believe in, but it's an important part for us, right?
For sure.
And what does that mean for us?
Grace was like a common ground for us early, before we even knew it. That
we
were
had
both
no
going.
idea.
Yeah.
That I remember I looked over one day and you were there, and we had just started talking.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so we'll dive into that as we get deeper into the season here, I think.
Yeah. All right, what a week. It snowed in Houston.
Like inches of snow.
Yeah, so 3 whole inches, which is really big for Houston.
I'll try to get a picture going while you talk about Charlotte was not happy about it.
Well, the snowfall was in the top 4 for Houston snowfall ever.
Yeah.
I think. So your girls loved it. And Charlotte hated it. Everything about it, she hated it.
Back over. There's our house, our white house, our big wraparound driveway and the pillars.
I hate the wraparound driveway. I like the idea of it, but there's so many curves that we just touch the grass so much because they're really tight curves.
Especially when I'm trying to do the big truck, which is pretty much the whole reason, big reason we moved here was to be able to drive the race directing truck all the way to the hangar and load it up. And it's every time I just cut something new in the grass and mud.
It's constant. Yeah. And then we have puddles. And with the snow, and always, so our dog is a binge drinker.
Our dog has a drinking problem.
Legitimately has a drinking problem.
And he has esophagus, stomach connection problems that need very expensive surgery.
Yeah.
Which we're deep in. We have a Frenchie. I wish you sent me a picture, your latest picture of Billy Baldwin. So his name's Billy Baldwin. He is named after...
I sent it to the text with your mom.
Okay,
this morning.
I'll bring that up. But named after Billy Baldwin, because we
met him.
Met Billy Baldwin, the actor in Italy.
And we said, Baldwin would be a good name. And then Cal said, what about Billy Baldwin? Which was perfect.
So here he is joining you for the bath.
He was barking at me.
Still very much a puppy.
At the water in the bathtub because he has a drinking problem with water.
Yeah, with water.
And I've had to close the dog door because he will sneak out of the house and go into a puddle and drink for several minutes.
Just binge.
Drink water.
Same
and
if his bowl is out.
I have to put his water bowl down every 30 minutes.
And we have that cool limiter.
Yeah.
It's like a
slow
float.
feeder.
Yeah, a float
system. It's like a slow feed water. And then he'll come back inside. And I swear we're giving him enough water. And we know he has some medical conditions that he's on medicine for and needs a surgery. But then he comes inside after binge drinking water and pukes everywhere. It just immediately burps it up like the biggest projectile.
Yeah, it really sucks. It's just I love that dog so much. Obviously, he's a huge part of our family. I have so much fun with him. He's so ugly. He's cute, and everybody loves him. Like he's so well tempered.
Great.
Like he's so good with the kids. He's off leash all the time and no problems. He's never aggressive. He's not food motivated, which is wild. Like he could care less if you're eating something.
I think it's increased a little bit recently.
Like we've caught him on the table twice, but
more than that.
Okay.
But yeah, he's not crazy about the food, but the water. Oh my gosh.
He is. Yeah.
And now since he's been sick, it's like the past 2 months he's been puking in our house 20 times a day.
Yeah, not fun. Anyways, that's our Billy Baldwin update.
So, anyway, Billy liked the snow because he got to binge drink. So, what else did we do? So this weekend, last episode, we said we were going to go out of town, and we didn't.
Yeah, I mean, just with the weather.
Yeah.
I mean, this weekend, I really wanted to go support another race that was all the way out in El Paso with the Franklin Mountains that used to be owned by Trot and now is owned by Sherpa John, and wanted to support him. But it was just like with the snow. And then we were wanting to go to hill country and get some hills for me, especially for Black Canyon training, which we'll talk about. But yeah, just nice to be home a little bit. We didn't really get the projects we wanted to done at all, but we did the shopping for one of the wall dividers
we
need to
got the materials
build.
for something that we're building in the house.
Yeah.
We went on a double date.
That's true.
What?
I got so sick from that.
Oh yeah. So, and then you went to the neighborhood party. So I guess backtrack, we went on a double date and you were puking all night after.
Yeah.
But you still went, so like both Friday and Saturday you went to LaGrange to get some hills in.
Yeah, well, Friday before the double date, I did a solo mission out to this, it's not a new park by any means, it's an old brewery that was formed in like the 1800s on this ridge above the Colorado River.
Yeah.
And it has a 1 mile loop, that's it. But as my buddy said, I took him on Saturday, Russ, he's like, that's ultimate mental training to get on a 1 mile loop and not quit.
Yeah.
It's like Brazos Bend, like even though that's a 6-lap 100 mile, everybody has an out every like 17 miles.
Yeah.
So it's definitely good training, but I got a lot of vert. I got 2,500 feet on Saturday and 15 miles. So
that's so hard to do in Houston.
It's very hard to do, and it's only 75 minutes away or so.
Yeah.
And Saturday I just told on a message group like, hey, I got the Suburban going, like loaded up.
The bus.
Yeah, so like 4 guys showed up. It was awesome. Yeah, it was good to have company, and definitely started a little bit slower, gave a little bit of a tour of the park with them, and then we all did our thing, and we'd kind of play cat and mouse around the park, and then toured around a neighborhood, which was really nice, and then did our own thing. So.
Awesome.
But yeah, double 10 mile, 15 mile with 4,000 feet of vert in 2 runs.
In 2 days, yeah.
Yeah.
And puking in the middle.
Yeah, and like completely depleted.
Well, then there was a neighborhood party Saturday night, and I was feeling sick.
Yeah.
So I didn't go, actually.
I think because I got it out. This is like a puke episode.
My stomach was upset during my 20 miler on Saturday, for sure.
Yeah. Which sucks because we went to Good Company Cantina.
Yeah.
I always mess it up. The Mexican Cantina.
And it is so good.
So good.
That's our favorite.
There's nothing worse than getting food poisoning from like a favorite dish or a favorite restaurant because it just like turns you off a little bit.
It hit you a lot harder than it hit me though.
That was rough.
Yeah. And then on Sunday, we worked the whole day on our computers for the most part.
Yeah.
So, and I did schoolwork, which...
And it sucks you couldn't join me for the local airport party. Because it was fun. It was really cool. I got a picture. I won't show like anybody in particular, but yeah, I was able to go to the party.
It was a hangar party.
I'll show you what a hangar party looks like. And yeah, everyone was there. It was a lot of fun. I mean, you can't really see much in here, but we had live band going and heaters, and yeah, this was the first person to move away and then return to the airport.
Yeah.
And a really cool guy and his wife. So they have a pretty empty hangar right now. They actually had a plane hanging in the rafters that was the previous owners. And it's good to just catch up with everybody. And they missed you.
Yeah, well, missed them.
I crushed a bunch of desserts because we had already had dinner.
He did bring me home some desserts.
Big bowl
and
of really good dessert.
Ate about half of it, and you ate the rest of it again.
All about that sweet tooth.
But yeah, Sunday schoolwork. So I've been doing a lot of schoolwork because the
MBA.
semesters. And I've got to say, this first week was rough.
Elementary.
Yeah, I mean, you were listening
Even
to
I was like,
the videos, and it's like, what is a bar chart? What is a pie chart? I thought I was gonna like lose my mind.
That's tough.
Yeah, so I actually skipped over a lot to get to the good stuff. But yeah, so that was the week. I made you go for a run on Sunday, just a little run across the neighborhood.
Yeah, we did 20 minutes together.
20 whole minutes, yeah.
Felt fine after doing a big week.
Yeah, I mean, how many, yeah.
I mean, I had 25 miles in the last 2 days before that. It's nothing, but the elevation and I don't know. I'm happy just to chill out and recover. We can talk training.
Yeah, let's do it.
You have it on my list. Okay. Yeah, I'll bring out some Strava. I'll look at what I've been doing on here. Yeah, because we're coming off Sunday marathon, so I had to keep that in mind. I was feeling pretty good. I remember Monday, I was like, the test isn't what my time is on Sunday. It's like, can I run tomorrow?
Yeah.
And
you did.
Yeah, I ran 4 miles easy on Zwift on the treadmill.
And I think we talked about that the last episode. Yeah.
My knee, my patella was bugging me, and it went away, and it's kind of come back. Just like it's like the quad is pulling up on the patella, like the kneecap.
Yeah.
And so it's causing some pain there. So I didn't think I had a rest day on Tuesday. Maybe we did sauna that day. Oh, I'm looking at only run. I got to look at all. Yeah, we did something there. We did an hour. That was snow day. We went to the sauna.
Oh, we did go to the sauna. We were the only ones in there. It was great. And Charlotte just hung out.
Yeah. So we went to Hot Works, and since nobody was there, none of the saunas were on. So we had to turn them on, and then they have a really nice gym. Yeah. So I actually got like a legit strength session.
Yeah, but each did a strength session, and then a hot yoga session-ish, and then
to keep warming up, and then spin.
And then spinning. Yeah. That was good.
And then, a nice little shakeout. So nothing crazy. A rest day, and then I did my double trail day. So not a crazy week, but coming off a marathon, I was able to do a 40-mile week with tons of vert. And that's great.
That's great.
And was able to do 9 this morning too on hills.
Nice. So. I did 50 miles last week, the past 2 weeks consistently. I know. But yeah, I mean, Monday I did that track workout, and then I didn't really do anything crazy until Saturday. I did 20 miles, but I added in some mile repeats and a few shorter tempos towards the end.
Yeah, to get ready for
Woodlands.
Half. Right,
yeah.
The half marathon of Woodlands.
I know I don't have to run 20 miles for a half, but I have a friend training for the full, and so I'm just running the same miles.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably don't need it. You definitely don't want to go more than that, really.
Oh, no. No,
Cool.
I'm only going down from here. So. But
What else are we talking about? I know I threw it out there on Strava. I was really interested in hearing what people's scores were on. Now, not everybody gets the Strava score. Now, is that
it might be a premium thing.
I think it is a premium thing.
So for those, and most people I know have premium Stravas. So yeah, there's been a high interest lately of, what is your Strava fitness, or what does your VO2 max say on your Garmin, or all of these metrics, right?
Yeah.
And everything's so different and relative to a person, not necessarily super accurate.
Well, and then that just kind of dove into like, what is the algorithm? And then like, what is the data going into the algorithm, and how messed up is that typically?
Yeah.
So I saw one of my athletes that was a pacer for Houston, very accomplished woman in Houston that also very smart, like PhD, I believe, like fresh out of school. And she had kind of put up, post marathon she didn't run it hard. Like she's definitely got potential to be in the 230s, 240s for sure. Like she's a fast local elite, a potential Olympic trials qualifier, paced like 3 hours something. So very, very comfortable marathon. And then in the days leading after, went for runs and was like, my heart rate's like railed, and I don't feel that bad, but like I need to scale back what's happening, and put a whole study out like of the response that your body has, basically like fight and flight and all this, like basically a lot what like HRV would tell you. And if you're measuring that kind of thing, your body's like not ready, and you're having these like hormonal responses and everything post marathon. But I didn't believe it, because people are relying on the optical heart rate
on your wrist.
On wrist.
Yes.
And so like then I put it out there like, great, listen to your body, but don't listen to like numbers on a watch, and especially when they don't line up with what your body is telling you. And especially since it's been cold, I noticed today on my run, my easy run for 10 or 9 miles said I averaged marathon heart rate, like 155. Which is,
no way.
There's no way. And it was just because I was freezing. It was mid 50s this morning and I was frozen.
Well, they're more inaccurate when it's cold outside too.
And so the reason, I have a really bony arm. There's barely any meat right here where that watch sits. And so even less so when it's cold and there's less blood flow and less contact and more movement, like you're not swelling because of the heat, so you don't get very good contact. It's all about light waves when it comes to optical heart rate. So I took a number of pictures. I don't know if anything else you want to add kind of to that as we're diving in, as I bring this up, but
No, I think you make a good point about people basing decisions of like, what do I do? What do I adjust? My heart rate was so high or my HRV is super low. I mean, so I wear an Oura ring, for example.
And I got stuff to say about that too.
Right? Like there's a number of the Whoop or just general fitness things. And I used to wear the Whoop and I actually stopped wearing it because I found that there was almost that placebo effect. If I looked at all of the data, I would wake up feeling good, but my Whoop says that I slept like shit. So in my mind now, I didn't sleep well.
I didn't
sleep well.
I'm not recovered. I can't do this. I can't do this next workout. Or
exactly.
You know.
And my Oura ring, I actually don't typically look at my data until the nighttime.
So even worse than like the after effect that you can get of like that anxiety of data like analysis, paralysis kind of stuff. I can't sleep well when I wear a watch. Or when I even know that I'm being recorded.
It's a training period.
Yeah, but look, I'm not even wearing a watch now. I get home from my run. I don't even get home and it's off. You know, like I just.
With the Whoop, I got used to it. But now I'm not used to something on my wrist at night, so I always take it off. But the ring is fine. But I typically use the ring more for pattern tracking and how different things, like, because you can put in habits, affect my body and recovery. And then
the trending was like the one argument somebody had was like, sure, it's wildly inaccurate. They basically were like, it's like 20 to 50% inaccurate. And I'm like, that is
But that's crazy though, right?
Ridiculous that you're okay with that.
Imagine.
We're talking a number of 120. Really.
Right, a 120 heart rate, 50%. So it could be anywhere from 60 to 180.
180, yeah.
That's a lot.
Unacceptable tolerance.
I mean, that's sleeping or sprinting your heart out.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm going to get more into like why they're inaccurate. But I was reading something recently, and I believe it was focused on the Oura ring, but it wasn't so much Oura, like the brand. It was just like optical in general.
Yeah.
How it measures HRV, taking points like all the time throughout your sleep is very bad, like for an algorithm. You actually just want to measure HRV for like a 1 minute block when you first wake up in the morning before anything gets going. And actually the iPhone camera with this flash on is a better measurement of your heart rate when you have your finger pressed against it using an app.
You used to do that actually.
Is better measurement than all of these other devices other than the Polar H10 heart rate strap.
I believe that.
The iPhone and the H10 strap are the only things like verified lab for taking HRV.
I think one good thing that I like about this is the women's tracking. And I know that, you know, men, you know, you don't necessarily have that. But yeah, definitely the women's tracking on this and then the habit tracking.
So let's look at some of these devices. I took some pictures.
That's my Garmin.
So your Garmin has two very, very bright green lights. So that was kind of interesting. This is your Oura ring. Bright.
It's brighter than the picture shows.
Bright, but still 2 green lights.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get to why this is important. And then
Apple Watch, very bright.
Super bright green lights. And then very, very different. Polar, not as bright, but look how many different LEDs they have. We have red, orange, green. I believe there's even like a yellow in there.
Yeah.
And there's even some LEDs on here that aren't activated. So in like future updates, and I used to run for Polar and work with them, but not anymore. So no association. But if you look at the difference in technology here, it's very clear, like difference in what's going on. So why is that important? Basically, when you're looking at optical heart rate sensors, it's like the penetration you get through the skin. And green has a certain light wave, a frequency that penetrates Caucasian skin very well. But as you get different pigments and go darker and darker and darker, it doesn't work as well.
Right.
And then, so that's why polar, and I think they've tied a lot of that up in their like IP of the technology, but have all those different wavelengths. So it's gonna work better for like if you're tan versus me,
right.
or even darker skin tones. But most people just have 2 LEDs that are green.
Right,
you know?
which those, out of all of my devices, right?
Yeah.
The Aura, the Apple, the Garmin, all just green 2 lights.
So not only is just like the contact usually not very good, but you have to have it really tight, like making an impression on your skin.
Which is not comfortable when you're running, especially.
No, you have to have like good conditions. So like on the trail, I notice like it gets jostled, doesn't work. When it's cold, doesn't work. And then also you have different pigments of skin. So like it's very
what
flawed.
makes the heart rate strap better?
It's an electrical connection.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have, and people don't like wearing that though. Like they're uncomfortable. It's kind of like me sleeping. Like they're going to feel, in fact, I had an athlete pull out of Boston because of a too tight heart rate strap. Now he was an older gentleman that was worried about having a heart issue.
So I actually feel like for women, it might be better for men because women are so used to sports bras and that tightness. And typically it's lined right where my sports bra is. So I don't notice it. I notice it a little bit, but not really. I can see for men, that's a different feeling. But for women who are used to...
It doesn't really bother me. You
women
definitely
that
have
are
to
used to
adjust
bras, we're used to something right there anyway.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I loved about your Whoop was you had like Whoop underwear.
I did, yeah.
And you could move the device off your wrist into like your hip.
It would be in my hip, yeah.
And the optical heart rate sensors that are like straps, so going up on your arm, forearm or upper arm, or other places on the body, definitely get way better meat. Like they get better tissue.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was on my like hip skin.
Yeah.
Where the Whoop was. But the Whoop underwear, like a good idea, it was horribly designed. Where the straps, I mean, basically I would have a muffin top and then the fabric for, your underwear part was like made for giant grannies. It was not good.
It's like what I brought you back from CVS the other week.
Yeah, exactly. The maxi pad returns.
Yeah. Hey, sent a man to do a woman's job.
Oh, here we go again. Something you shouldn't say to your wife. Do the dishes, babe.
We'll get into the relationship stuff.
So let's go back to Strava.
Okay,
right?
so you have generally bad data, and I look at a lot of data coming in on Final Surge as a coach, like hundreds a day basically, and I very quickly can be like, ignore the heart rate, ignore this. It's just not valid. So you have that data going into an algorithm and telling you how fit you are.
Yeah.
Now, let's say just that error is like consistent, like it's generally going to read really high. Like I said today, like I for sure was in the 120s running, but it said 150s. So it's automatically going to think I'm less fit from that.
Yeah.
Now, let's say it was like really hot out, like all of a sudden my fitness stays the same and then it gets really hot outside. That same run that I just did today is going to show a higher heart rate because my body's trying to cool.
Right.
It'll think I'm less fit. And so I always see this transition as we head into the spring and summer where an athlete's VO2 max or whatever the reading fitness score is going down, 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 even though actually they're probably getting fitter because the algorithm thinks they're less fit because the same pace, heart rate, effort,
it's not taking
distance.
into account those other factors as much.
Yeah, there's a lot of external factors that it's not taking into account.
You're kind of miserable to be around on Sundays by the end of the summer because on Sundays is your coaching day.
Yeah.
And by the end of the summer, all of your athletes, no offense to Cal's athletes, are complaining that their fitness sucks because it's so hot.
But again, they're reading the number.
But yeah, everyone's reading the number. But then, like I said last time, the first cool front hits and everyone's singing a different tune.
There was a study, and I think I saw this in the Endure book by Alex Hutchinson, which has tons of really cool studies in there, but they basically would put these, usually cyclists, in a controlled environment cell, and it was either like actually hot, so they would show like 100 degrees Fahrenheit on a thermometer, or it wasn't that hot, but they would show a thermometer that said 100 degrees, so they'd think they're in, and that just alone,
it's that placebo effect. Like I said,
would
with my
affect
Whoop.
their performance.
Yeah, you wake up, you see your stats, and you're like, man, I really did sleep like shit.
So it's really unfortunate.
I feel awful.
People are really putting a lot of weight into this score.
You know, it's funny.
And to dive into the score just a little bit. So what I think Strava is doing is
y'all can't see it on his computer right now, but he has this whole
I actually
study.
have math and formulas. No, this is my course. I just finished.
Okay.
So for continued education on coaching to keep my USATF cert valid, they actually were requiring now, like if you let it lapse, you have to go and take the whole course again, but you can take these mini courses on, continued education to stay current, and that will keep that rolling. So I did one on basically like training calendar building. And so it had everything from like periodization to like how do you quantify training loads, like where do you put, how do you taper an athlete? Tapering is like one of the least understood things. It's very individual. But the load quantification, so like how big was your workout, was a big thing of that. And so they talked about the training impulse or the TRIMP score. And so like on a very basic level, your TRIMP score is your duration in minutes times your average heart rate. So I think I had an example there where I put like, if I did an hour.
Training time for an hour and your average heart rate was 120, which most people are going to sit higher than that, I would say.
Yeah, but for me, that's like pretty
60
typical.
60 by 120 is 7,200.
So like your score would be 7,200. Now the problem with that method is it doesn't take into account, like if I had gone and done 5 by 3 minutes at VO2 max in there.
Right, it doesn't segment out those.
Yeah. I could get the same score if I went really easy, like if my warm up was 100, my cool down was 100 heart, which I could do, but I rail it to 170 during the repeats. It could all still average out to the same TRIMP score. So it doesn't work when your intensity is varied. So for that, you actually do your TRIMP score by duration times your heart rate zone. And you have to segment out each zone that you're in.
More math, yeah.
And you'll get, so zones would be like 50 to 60% max heart rate, zone 1.
So it's a summation.
You would times like 30 minutes in zone 1.
Factor.
Yeah, 30 times 1, you'd get a 30 score.
Yeah.
But then you look at your 5 by 3, and maybe that was in zone 5, then like, all of a sudden you have, an actual relative score. But again, it's still heart rate based.
Yeah.
And so that's what the algorithm's using. And then you're building a trend of that over time. It's hot, it's cold.
Yeah.
There's errors. And then all of a sudden you're left with like
garbage in, garbage out.
Garmin garbage.
I mean, even though
it's not Garmin.
my MBA class was a little basic, we did get to some deep discussions about the meaning of like data analysis and bad data going into it and those complexities. And I think it's still very relevant in, the running community as well and all of the data that we have.
Well, it's just amazing, like the amount of misunderstanding. And I think we'll save this for another time, but how GPSs work. I'd love to like explain that.
Oh, that's a whole different conversation.
And like tangents and course and like bad. And then, there's a whole other component of that score, I'm sure, on Strava, which is distance. And
what's your Strava score, for example? Let's go.
Oh yeah, so that's kind of what we were asking about recently, was like, what is your Strava score? So I'm hovering right around like, I think I went up 2 today just with my easy run, even though I was at like really high heart rate. Oh, so a tip, I'll just say this first. If you know your heart rate data is bad, go in and choose your relative effort on Strava. Like it has a scale of 0 to 10, perceived exertion. Today I put a 2, and then there's a checkbox you can say use instead of heart rate. And that's going to it's going to use that as the scoring point.
Got it. Yeah.
And it's going to make your algorithms more accurate.
Okay,
so
pro tip.
There you go. So I'm hovering around 30.
Which is crazy. Like mine, today I looked, it's 119.
Yeah, so completely not comparable. Like that doesn't mean you're like.
Well, so the interesting thing is I looked at it
4
1 year ago.
Yeah.
And I was coming off of Houston half, and felt like I was in really good shape. I'm actually in better shape now. And my heart rate, my score then was 156, and today it's 119. And I genuinely feel like I'm in better shape now.
Yeah.
And it's 40 points, 30 points difference.
Yeah, I mean, I remember sitting at coffee with athletes after long runs, you know, when we go out to Belleville or something, and it's like, they're like, we'll just happen to see my score, and they're like, what the heck? Like, yeah, they're in the 300s.
What?
Like, a lot of people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never crossed like 160,
Yeah.
180.
So I threw it out there. I was like, just what's your score?
Yeah.
Oh, here's Mary Denholm. Great. I didn't see this comment yet. Mine says over 100 unless I'm recovering and rebuilding. So Mary Denholm won Leadville 100 miler.
Yeah.
She's going to be at Black Canyon. She's pro athlete with Kraft, just signed. Really excited to see what she does. When she's peaking, she's in the 120s. And I'm like, if I'm peaking, I've run my 219 marathons at like a 27, 29.
And that's crazy.
Peak.
But yeah, for me, like, I'm in better shape now, still less than a year ago, and when I was in shape. And so the only thing I think it's good for is those peaks and valleys, but those peaks and valleys are meaningless to me in Strava.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have a doctor on here, Heidi. I've run with her before. She's kind of chiming in. Yeah, it's all about the heart rate errors that we just went through. Garmin algorithm seems much better though than Strava. Interesting. Yeah, seeing a lot of people in the 70s. There was one comment here. Yeah, there's some pretty comparable stuff. 190s, 160s.
Yeah, I think
crazy.
just the problem is people are basing these
There,
decisions.
300s. But that was when this person only used the wrist-based, which was a brand new, like, high-end. Those watches are so expensive now. You're shopping for a watch right now?
I want a new watch.
$1,000
And
over.
the one I would love, is $1,000.
Unreal. I think
And
you just have to
I
go
just
Koros.
can't.
The price is so much better.
Yeah.
And I feel like
But I love the Garmin interface. That's
Yeah.
the thing, is that you get used to that interface.
yeah, I don't know. I'm stuck on Polar, but I think I'll go. If I had to buy a watch right now, it'd be.
Well, you've been
it'd
talking
be a
about Koros for 2 years now.
I had a Koros, so I gave it to a kid.
Oh, that's right.
I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, that's right.
I got to check in with him. Up and comer. Yeah, so that's kind of Strava fitness score. You can go on my Strava and comment on that. Drop your score in there. There's a post, and
Yeah,
we'll see what.
I guess people need to be careful about basing decisions off of this type of data. When
Exactly.
It's not
I think
always
that's the biggest
accurate.
message
Yeah.
for that, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got? Where we
All
at?
right.
So.
Well, there's a few like Matt Fox.
Oh yeah. So I threw out today on my run. I was like, "Hey, we're recording today. What questions do you have for the podcast, for the Neff Pace podcast?" And Matt Fox from Sweat Elite, Aussie, chimed in and he said, and I didn't have much time to think about this because it just came in this morning, but he said, "What 3 things would you change if you were the head of World Athletics?"
Yeah, I don't have an answer for this. I
Yeah.
tried to come up. I have no clue.
So I don't have specific things, but I also wanted to like scale back one level instead of like World Athletics, is like, because we're in the US, like USATF.
Yeah.
So much scrutiny around how much money that CEO makes for a organization that's essentially a nonprofit that's there to support athletes.
Okay,
when
but
athletes make dog shit. Like,
Yeah, but
and we're about to get into sponsorship in a minute, but like, what is it, Max Siegel salary? Like, I could Google that right now.
But I think this is a common theme with nonprofits. It's not just, USATF.
It's bad when you don't even have to finish typing in Google. When you put like MAXS and that's like fills it in.
Well, okay.
3.8 million.
But what's the Red Cross CEO salary, right? Like, you're going to find the same thing.
But how come you have athletes literally that can't train, like support their own training, that are trying to represent the US or whatever their nation is?
I think this goes for a number of nonprofits.
Oh,
though,
for sure.
right? But yeah, I agree with you.
And you have a CEO that has to manage a very large organization that has a very big team underneath them to support athletes making $4 million a year. That is ridiculous.
But let's say you dispersed out that $4 million, you're still not going to come up with a good salary for an athlete, but still.
There's so much more you could do. And then okay, so what would I do if I was like USATF and I do sit on the LDR board and be transparent about that, like the long distance running, just on the Golf Association. Doesn't have much say or play. It's just like basically a communication pathway for the rest of the golf. But we're seeing like the marathon for the trials, cannot find a host. We've struggled with that. Like, we're going to move to a system that doesn't have a race, I think, soon, if not ever. Like, again, if it's so much money. Houston hosted the trials. I think it was in '07 when I think Des and Kara were talking about that, with their return to Houston.
Yeah.
So the Olympic trials marathon to select the top 3 that go to the Olympics. It's so expensive. Like, I think we were talking millions and millions for the host organization to put it on, put up money, like
fundraise,
everything. Yeah, it's not worth it. Like,
it's an undertaking.
Yeah, there's just not that much. USATF
what's
needs
the
to support
economic
that.
benefit that it brings in?
Really, nothing.
Because when you're talking about, I'll put on the Olympics, you're spending millions and millions of dollars, but you're bringing in millions and millions of dollars, versus something a little bit smaller.
I think the Olympics is still a loss, like for any host city.
Potentially.
Now you end up with some amazing facilities that go on to work for the city, hopefully for the next generations. Like, I remember as a high school athlete training in the University of Calgary Olympic speed skating oval. They had a track around the outside of the ice, still in use today. So I think cities end up with really great facilities that go on to support youth sports and pro sports and everything. And that's great. It does put your city on the map, and tourism, obviously, economic impact.
Yeah, that's
like
what
we're trying to come up with economic impact for our own little tiny trail races, because they do have an impact.
Right.
And then you have parks that are saying like, it's too wet to run on the trails, we'll just cancel. Well, there's a little bit more to that, but it's like, no, we need to consider the economic impact here, of what that's worth.
What's the actual loss here? Not just to me, but to everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So what would I do as a leader in that? It's like, I think I'd put some severe salary caps on there and make sure the money is appropriately distributed to really do its number one job, is to represent the athletes as best as possible. And that doesn't mean just like giving money to the best person at the time, but it would be like, how do we build events that are going to like support the next generation and things? And
it doesn't have to come in, everyone gets a chunk of salary. It can come in of like, how are we building up the community? How do we support our athletes better to compete or grow the next generation, or get our name out there? Yeah.
This was one of my gripes I was going to bring up, of like, what really grinds my gears. I was seeing someone.
A lot of things.
Yeah, especially this week. I've been grumpy, but.
He's been very grumpy.
Public track access across the board. I just saw another one on Strava today. It's like, it's infuriating that tax dollars to build public tracks at high schools and even junior highs now are locked. And I get it. We have to keep the schools safe. We have to keep the facilities in great condition, and yet yahoos out there driving their cars. Even bikes are annoying. You can't be on there, but rather than like, it's kind of like the Bolivar Peninsula. They have this thing called the Jeep Weekend, or Topless Jeep Weekend. Huge economic impact for the Gulf of Mexico and Texas. You have a new sheriff come in and says, we're not doing Topless Jeep Weekend. People get shot. There's a lot of medical, a lot of drinking, rowdy, drugs, whatever. But rather than say like, we're going to step up our law enforcement presence and security,
make it more safe and blah, blah, blah,
more official, it's just like, we're canceling it. And it's like, dude, this is the only time the Bolivar Peninsula, other than like 10 nudists throughout the year that are down there, or fishermen, are going to go there. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of people putting probably millions of dollars into that small town.
Which is a loss if they completely cut it. And I get it,
huge loss.
Safety is a concern.
Yeah.
But there
so
are
rather
ways
than like
to
come
help.
up with ways. Now Memorial Park has a brand new track that's open, and that's great. Of course, we saw like week 1, someone did burnouts on the track.
Yeah, very disrespectful.
I think it was a landscaper, honestly, by accident. Probably like floored it a little in the gator.
Still.
But you have, it just happened, just build the infrastructure to support it. Anyways, that really grinds my gears. That's what I would do. I'd bring public tracks, access, support athletes in that way. Maybe I'll have to follow up later on, like on a world athletics level, what that would look like. I think doping's been a huge topic of this.
Doping again, y'all.
Yeah, we had a lot of feedback on talking about doping, especially the IV thing. So it came up multiple times this week. One of my athletes did extremely well, ran in the 240s for the marathon, was standing in the corral warming up, and the guy next to him was like, oh man, this is the first time I've done an IV drip before a race. I just really want to BQ. It's like,
which is doping. That is doping.
You are doping. I don't care.
That is illegal.
Yeah, technically.
Yeah.
Like, Ryan Lochte, the Olympic swimmer for the US, posted a video or a picture of him on his Instagram with an IV in his arm, like before the nationals one time. Like, know the rules, dude, and like publicly put it out there. And you saw it as like, you're not going to nationals. Like, you won't compete for the US.
Yeah, that's it for you.
There's a 6-month ban for being an idiot. I had another discussion. Somebody was not feeling well the week before the marathon, was like panicking, went in, got an IV. I'm like, big no-no. And they don't even know what was in it. And that's the crazy thing.
And
the
people
cocktails
go and do that stuff just for that quick win.
And you know what? They felt terrible. They'd never done it before.
Yeah.
They don't know what they got. They were bloated. They put on 4 pounds in water weight, and because they were like hyperhydrated.
Yeah.
And did the complete opposite.
Well, we were talking this week, like I was in the hospital 2 summers ago for the stomach infection. And by the end, I was on like 3 crazy antibiotics all through an IV. I couldn't keep...
You couldn't water down.
I couldn't drink... Yeah, I couldn't keep water down for 2 days.
Yeah.
And
I was away.
And you were gone, yeah. And by the time it was over, the antibiotics started working, but my IVs were so strong just to try to keep some hydration in me that I was IV drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was a balloon. I could barely keep my eyes open. Like I felt worse IV drunk than like if I got drunk off of wine. Truly.
Yeah, so like another thing I would do from that standpoint, from World Athletics, is like we were talking about, make the doping control process like more affordable so that races, especially like we're seeing a lot in the trail world, the money's coming in, so therefore the stakes are higher and athletes are taking shortcuts. So like making it more accessible to other races and like lower tiers, I think would be huge.
I think some information needs to be
spread just
about
better
that
information.
Too, right?
It's like kind of like how I've gotten better about reprimanding people, like you're out, like you IV dripped on the way to my race, you're not racing. But it's more like, hey, did you know that as a professional, like this is not allowed?
Right, well that's what I was about to say. As a common athlete, those are things you don't really have to think about.
Yeah.
And I think some extra appreciation would go into maybe the professional athletes trying to understand, they don't get to take these quick hits. I'm not supposed to, but no one's going to catch me at this level.
I'll say 2 more things on doping. 1, if you want to legally dope, sleep more. Everything that people are putting in their bodies illegally is naturally, pretty much everything, is naturally produced by your body in deep REM cycle. Yeah. And so the more you sleep, and the harder you sleep, the deeper you get into those sleep cycles, the more HGH, testosterone, EPO, like all of this stuff that people are trying to source illegally, the more your body naturally produces. So if you have a good diet to support that and good sleep cycle, you're naturally recovering and getting those, while you sleep. 2, if you're really interested in like this is like a new world to you, go and watch Icarus. Hands down, even my 12-year-old, she was 12, maybe she was 11 when we watched it together, was like, wow, this is amazing. Follows a cyclist that does a big race.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, Icarus. This cyclist that just wants to see, would he be better if he doped?
Yeah.
Takes a big turn halfway through when he basically uncovers the entire Russian doping scandal that ruined the country they ruined themselves, but uncovered that for the Olympics. So Icarus, incredible documentary, and still a story to be told there, I think, like with the doctor, the Russian guy that's in hiding. So
yeah, a good story.
Really cool. All right.
Going into the running sponsorships.
Yeah.
So
huge shakeups.
There's been a lot of shakeups in the past week or 2. And then maybe we start with you. Yeah. So you've been with Ultra, 12 years now? Or going on 12 years?
Yeah, this is the 12th year.
How did that happen for you, right? Like, let's talk about that.
How do you get sponsorship?
How do you get sponsorships? And all these people that are being dropped or leaving or, let's talk about that too.
Yeah. Well, my introduction to Ultra was like at a trade show, and I met one of the co-founders, and he basically like handed me a pair of the Lone Peaks, like one of the original pairs. They didn't have many shoes at the time, and I tried them out, loved them, was in communication, was like, hey, I'll represent you guys in the new year, more of like an ambassador, and then just kind of built from there. And they were so small as well that we've mutually kind of grown together, and I had good performances, kind of kept leveling up, got more like notarized with, you know, some of the race results I've had, and then bigger presence on social.
Yeah.
So more value to them, and being a good advocate. And, you know, I choose them as much as they choose me. So like my healthiest years have been running for ultra. And so of course I just keep going back to that.
Well, I think as a running sponsor, especially a shoe, you have to believe in what you're, you know, it's not just oh, I'm a professional now, I'm sponsored, right? You represent each other. It's supposed to be a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, and I see that so many times as people saying, I'm sponsored. It's like, here's a 20% discount code.
But they're paying.
Some free part. No, some are getting paid, but most it's like free product or discounted product.
Yeah.
Which I go on a huge rant
paying,
there.
Not the company.
The athletes
That's
paying.
what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, you're not sponsored if that's the case.
Yeah.
And they actually are making a ton of money off of ambassador programs. Like there's some companies I could name that are making $300,000 to $500,000 a year just in subscriptions of sponsored runners.
Yeah.
Off their athletes, and that doesn't include all of the extras that they're buying. So that's a whole other rant.
A whole list of companies I could think of. Yeah.
But I do, make money from ultra. Like it is a sponsorship, and there's requirements. Like I just signed a new contract this year. Basically, it's annual. It's rare to see multi-year, which is nerve-wracking.
We have a few people that we know that are on multi-year, and that's pretty rare. Yeah. Because every year you say, oh, this is it, right? It's gonna.
Well, no, I'm just like, you know, maybe the communication's been less or there's been some turnover, which like now I've been there 12 years. I've been through like
a lot of athlete managers.
5 athlete managers, I think. You know, just, I mean, it's just normal
industry. And there's been like 3 since we've been together.
Yeah, so you kind of lose that connection that you know is solid, or like they know like the behind the scenes of what you're doing elsewhere, other than just like results on the race results. But so you kind of never really know, and you don't know which direction the brand's going. So if I'm reaching out for a new sponsorship, my question is, what is your marketing strategy and goals for this year?
Right. That's
it. It's not like, hey, I love your product, or I want to try your product, or I want your free stuff, whatever. It's like,
it's not about getting something free.
It's marketing, it's business. Like, what is your goal this year, and how can I maybe be a part of that to support it? So is there like content or a story, or, you know, something that my network would benefit from seeing and attract to that? It's marketing. It's all, we're basically just like billboards at the end of the day. And obviously there's more to that. Like now I've been huge into the shoe testing.
Well, I was about to say that there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people don't realize. Yeah,
like I think I have a very good feel for materials and fit and certain performance things of shoes, and I'm on so many different terrains that I can tell and give really good feedback on that. And you know, what else is there? There's the content production, obviously, like this is part of it. And, you know, we're putting it out there and wearing the brand. It's out there all the time, and because I believe in it. So feel free to message. If you want a discount code, I got an ultra discount. I do, but like that's part of it, right?
But you don't really advertise that you have a discount code to anything, right? No. I mean, a little bit, but not.
If I meet somebody in the wild and it's like, oh, hey, nice shoes, like, and I really love them. I'm like, well, your next pair could be like 30% cheaper. Here you go.
Yeah, but my point is that some people are just shoving their discount code down your throat, right? Where it's not like that. It's not tacky.
Hopefully it's, very organic.
Yeah, exactly. So this week, Solomon.
Yeah, new year, new deals.
Lots of deals coming out.
I mean, first we saw a team that I really liked and followed, even though it's a competing brand, the Hoka Northern Arizona Elite. Yeah. I love the coach that was there that founded this, Ben Rosario. I've always learned a lot from his coaching styles, philosophies, plans, things like that. He's now moved on to the Marathon Project, which we find out April 1st if I'm going to be running that. And he got kind of pushed out slowly, you know, handed over the reins of coaching before, you know, completely leaving. And like, how many athletes left? Like 8, I think 8. I put.
Yeah.
And 8 of the core athletes that we've always followed. So it just feels very like a huge loss to that team. And we got to hang out with Alex Masai. He's part of like the new team, I'd say, which is very international. Like at first we had like a very American core, and now it's more performance driven, and the athletes they've kept are not your typical ones that we had in the past. But they had a great weekend at Houston, so that's the brand's going for performance, right? They want a team that's high performance, and they felt like it would be better with ex-coach and ex-athletes.
Yeah.
So we saw people get really pissy on social media recently, not so much from that brand, or that team. We saw a trail runner get dropped by Lululemon.
Yeah.
And basically accused them of being a visitor to the sport. And
that was a scathing. Yeah. Yeah.
We kind of snuck into that. What do they call it? The Lululemon.
The women's event. I forget what it's called.
Further.
That
was really cool.
It was a really good event.
We got to see Camille Herron.
Break her records.
Bit of controversy around her.
Yeah.
It's calmed down. But we got to bring all 4 of our girls to a really cool women's only ultra running event where tons of records were broken, a lot of data was set, a lot of support for women.
Last March.
Yeah, last March. It wasn't that long ago. And now pretty much most of that team is gone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you made a comment earlier about, when you reach out to a sponsorship, what are your goals, right? Even ultra has had years of road running and years of trail running.
Yeah, and it ebbs and flows.
And you've kind of been that hybrid, constant.
Yeah. You got to adapt.
You have to adapt.
Just like now, my focus is on Western States as an athlete, which even today I was like, man, I really love this road.
Yeah.
I could run really fast on this road right now. I'm not sure about the trail.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I do want to go to Western States. Obviously, it's a huge goal of mine. But to do that, I got to compete at these 100Ks, which
it's some stiff competition.
Really hard competition, which I'm not afraid of putting myself in to measure up against, but it's just it's a completely different event. And I feel like my specialties are more definitely on fast road, but it's challenging me to be diversified in my running. And so
last year I did a Black Canyon Fantasy League. I don't even remember who was on it.
Oh, I wonder if they'll have that again.
And I wonder if it'll happen again. But next Monday is the Monday before, so I'll try to have my fantasy league before our next podcast.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was going to bring up a picture of us hanging out with Camille.
Oh yeah, from that event.
Yeah,
that was in Palm Springs,
March.
Palm Springs.
Yeah, I searched Palm Springs, but it wasn't coming up. March 24.
Yeah.
There we go. There's a great photo of the fam with Camille. So I actually did hear from Connor, the husband. So if you weren't, that's funny. If you were not aware of the controversy around Camille Herron, the whole thing there, and I recognize we're almost at an hour already. I thought we were going to have nothing to talk about today.
I know you kept saying we have nothing to talk about, and I'm like, are you not reading our outline? What?
So Camille, absolutely world-class, incredible athlete, pushing the limits not only for what's possible for women, but exceeding what's possible for anybody, including beating the men. So I have nothing but really great things to say about her running and her husband as a coach and what they do. I've traveled around with them quite a bit, been at Comrades in South Africa, which she's won. I have no questions whatsoever about her authenticity as an athlete.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there was some Wikipedia pages that were...
Well, and that comes down to people questioning character.
Right. And so this is a whole other thing of character of they were editing the page to look better and actually dumbing down some other athlete pages, which were all traced by IP addresses and account logins. So you can't really question that was happening. Connor kind of took the fall for that. Whether that's true, I don't know. But...
It's not our prerogative to judge,
So, I mean, was that wrong? Sure. But it kind of goes back to the sponsorship game. If you're, I'm not saying that's part of the game, but the pressure that's there and then the mental health that surrounds that.
Absolutely.
It drives you to sometimes make some bad decisions and try to inflate yourself over somebody else so that you can keep
a competitive edge.
And to keep your
people are getting
career alive.
More and more fit, right? Records are being broken all the time. So those pressures are...
People are getting more and more fit.
Technology's changing.
Shoes,
I think
technology, training.
People are pushing their bodies further, or I don't know. I think this is a good debate, right?
For sure. I think we're seeing more as I'm saying, diversified running. So the focus on like ultras that wasn't previously there is now like a thing you can have a career in. Like you don't have to go to the Olympics to be a professional athlete. You don't even have to actually be a good runner to be a profession, to get paid by a company. Like you could just have like a really good Instagram feed, which is crazy,
true.
you know, like, and you might be a better marketer than somebody that's putting up better times. So I kind of fall in between that, I feel like. But it keeps me valuable on many different things, and therefore I've survived 12 years.
I think.
And it's just like we're doing in our races. It's like, I don't want to have just one type of event. I don't want to have one product, because if that product fails, we need to have, other backups.
You can't put all of your eggs in one basket. So they say.
So it goes the same way. It doesn't matter what business you're in. But what else do we have? We had what else did I have on the sponsorship?
Oh yeah. So Solomon drops everyone but Courtney.
That's wild. Like Solomon, very European brand, basically shut down US athletes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Except for Courtney Dauwalter, which...
I mean, rightfully so for her, but yeah.
Now, there are some that retired. Like I saw Noah Drody at Houston walking around, just kind of more of a support person, coach. Part of the Roots Project, I believe. Might have that wrong. But he was Solomon on the roads, which was really interesting. He got dropped the day after he ran like one of the fastest US marathon times ever at the Marathon Project that I was at in COVID. And he got dropped by his longtime sponsor. I'm trying to remember, was it Saucony or something? But that's crazy that Solomon, so there's people that are just retiring. So he kind of moved on just from running in general. Saw a really, really nice, authentic post by Keely Henninger, who is an ultra athlete, that basically said, like, again, I don't want the pressure of sponsorship on my running. I've enjoyed my time doing it. She was a golden ticket winner, Western States runner. I think she kind of had a bad day at Western States when we were there watching. But people retire too, and they call it, you know, when do you call it is another good question. Drew Hunter was a big name I saw in there. So Drew Hunter was tied up in a big controversy with Tin Man, which is a very famous coach, Tom Schwartz. We can maybe get into that later, but Tom Schwartz forever was known as Tin Man, and had this, he actually coached Drew in high school, like my friend Drew, including Drew Hunter, coached these programs. Drew Hunter kind of popularized it with Adidas and the Tin Man Elite group. Well, they dropped Coach Tin Man from the group, but kept the name. And so like that was like a huge controversy on, you know, basically stealing someone's like brand identity. But now he's with ASICS. So big turnover there. Be interesting to see what he does. Tons of turnover this year. It's been crazy. I
mean, it's always interesting to see what happens in January with everyone's contracts, because like you said earlier, it's a year-to-year thing for the most part.
So new for me this year, Ultra told me, hey, we're still not ready with our apparel. We've kind of gone back and forth on that a number of times, and you're free to do what you'd like to do. We're still gonna have athlete kits, but they said go and, you know, you can branch out. So I re-signed with Rabbit on the trail team specifically this year. So that'll be back with Rabbit. I've done Rabbit maybe 3 years.
On and off.
And off, just depending on what Ultra's doing. So that's cool. I'll be racing in Rabbit this year, which great apparel. Like, I always go back because when I'm allowed to, that's what I wear. Most of the time the Ultra kit is Rabbit anyway.
That's true.
What else do we have?
Let's do an update on this Chipotle burrito segment.
Just real quick, because I think we're closing in on the finale of the January segment challenge in all these various cities. And the Houston one's just like, I should have gone and done it, because the guy's leading with 89 miles.
Okay, that's not on this segment itself. 89
Which
miles.
times by 2.
Okay,
technically.
So
180 miles.
80 miles-ish.
This month.
This month.
I mean, you could easily do a 400-mile week for most athletes. Or 400-mile month, sorry.
I was like,
400-mile
I
month.
don't know about that, but
So what's Jameel at?
So Jameel Curry.
On this one. 295.
295.
So 600-mile month. And not done yet. So that's what I'm talking about. Like when it's really competitive, and he's not far behind that guy that's.
And you're doubling it because you have to run back.
So it's only 400 meters to go down, but it's, they're talking about like using cars and stuff, but it's just not even like feasible. So Jameel actually he has a cool update on YouTube that he's doing on the Tempe, Arizona segment. because there's a guy that's super close to him on the leaderboard.
Yeah, so he has 1304 attempts. The next guy, Kevin Russ, has 1285.
It's so close.
It's very close.
And Kevin won last year.
Oh, really?
But what I found that was like, that kind of turned me off from this, it's total bragging rights at this point, because at the Tempe one, they're basically at Arizona State University, like main stretch. The parking is ridiculous there. And so it's, Jamil's car got towed.
Really?
While he was running.
Oh, no.
From Chipotle.
Yeah.
And so however much that cost to get his car out of impound, probably like $100 to $300.
Yeah.
So like how many burrito bowls could you have bought with that? Now they're paying for parking. So like I think the cheapest on like these.
So by the time you're done paying for parking, you could probably have paid for all of your
a year
burrito
of
bowls.
52 burrito bowls, because it's one a week probably for a year.
Well, you're just making that assumption. You don't actually know, right?
I think it's one a week for a year.
Okay.
Burrito bowl. So, I mean,
you have college kids eating more burrito bowls than that a week. But
it's just kind of funny that they're spending so much money on parking.
Yeah.
And that guy's not even from Tempe. Like the one guy, like he's visiting. Like who knows like how much this is actually costing. The Houston one's weak, so I think next year if this happens, it's going to be on the list.
All right, next January, maybe this will bring out some competition for you.
Maybe if there's like a Cabo Bob's, I'd be totally into it.
You should partner with them. Maybe they'll do it for the Katy Run Club.
Yeah, it's bad for your running when you have like unlimited burritos.
Yeah. Let's see on the more personal side.
Okay.
So last week we had, briefly touched over, or maybe a few weeks ago, one of my goals was life dinners. Yeah. And we have a life dinner scheduled this week. So, let's talk about that and what that is, because I think it's a very unique concept. And it's something that you brought to me early in our relationship.
Yeah.
And so, why don't you?
I'm pretty sure it was something I saw randomly scrolling on Twitter before it was
now
X.
Yeah.
Of just like kind of like relationship advice and like finding connection time. Mm-hmm. And so there's this huge thing that I'll leave it in the show notes probably is best.
Yeah.
Of just like what it is. But guys, listen, go right now and put it on the calendar sometime in the next 2 weeks, life dinner, and arrange a date night where you can talk over dinner, and be prepared though as one of the aspects of going through this list, and the other person has to be prepared too.
Especially guys, and not to.
But you're gonna win so many points.
I was gonna say it's a total panty dropper for a guy to come in and say, "Baby, I want to connect with you every month." Like, what?
I want to have a life dinner. So the life dinner.
I feel the same when you do the laundry or the dishes. But life dinner. So basically, there's 3 segments to it.
Yeah, that are broken down in more detail.
And it has some guiding questions.
Yeah.
In the first segment, I don't know which one's first or second, but personal questions. So, what did I accomplish? What am I proud of?
Yeah, it kind of goes to like what's happened since the last life dinner.
And then what's happening with us? What do I love about you? What have we learned? What can we do better? And then it goes forward into, all right, what's our goal for the next month? And then we check in again in the next month.
Yeah.
And
see how you're making progress. And it's like short, medium, long-term stuff. And it's kind of like a relationship check.
Yeah.
And personal check too, because it is a lot of like, this is what I want to accomplish.
Well, I think 2 out of the 3 segments are about yourself rather than, drilling into the relationship. But it also enables your partner to, kind of be that, guiding figure for you and hold you accountable and support you throughout the month. Yeah,
it's important, and we need to get it done. We were supposed to do it last night. It just kind of
it slipped away from us, but we're gonna do it this week.
Yeah. We've done a few, and we each have a book that we've specifically used for this. So it's almost like a journal, and it's good to go back and be like, oh yeah, like we did make progress here. Like, oh, I still really need to do that.
I think for us, like one of the big differences between us is that, like, I really like quality time, but my definition of quality time is very different than Cal's. Like, we can go a whole day next to each other, and we've gone to Lowe's, and we've gone to the grocery store, but we've just been, not any real conversation, just doing life. And I'm like, okay, well, let's spend time together. And he's like, I've spent time with you all day.
I'm like, I want to go flying.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but it hasn't been meaningful time, right? And so this is definitely something that's kind of helped with that, where it scratches an itch for me, and you know.
Yeah. The other than the life dinner thing that really helped us was going back to Grace was this Marriage Matters course that we did together.
It was 10
and it
weeks.
wasn't even like really religious based, to be honest. But we did how many weeks? 10 weeks, every Monday night, going to a group session with a speaker, talking about relationship, some topic, and then going to small groups, which we'll go through this at a later time. But yeah, I found that was like so beneficial. But to your point, what I was just going to say there was like, that was exhausting emotional work for me. Like going to those nights.
But we weren't necessarily talking to each other.
Right. So nights. I would get home and be like, wow, that was like great quality relationship time.
And I'm like, let's talk about it.
Oh, man.
I
was like, the box was checked. Like I am done. But you're like,
and
no.
You know what? We would have big fights after that too, because like it would bring up topics that are normal sore spots in a relationship.
Yeah, it definitely does.
And it's fresh on my mind, so I think a lot of it, like I would not
it was
try
raw.
to. It was raw, and so I wouldn't try to pick a fight. But yeah, we're both raw, and like we both have different opinions, and we kind of had to take a step back each night and say, you know.
When you get home from that, and it's kind of late, and you're tired, and then like you're wanting to like connect on it. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm done connecting.
Yeah. So we got better towards the end, but man, like the first few weeks, we had some of the worst fights. But it was great.
Yeah, we'd come home from church and fight. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally normal.
But honestly, like, you know, it did bring up some good topics for, you know, us to address. And a lot of the things we'd fight about, we realized, we're not having relationship issues. We are having people issues where we're two people from different backgrounds with different frames of mind. And that's normal, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, we can definitely go there in more detail
we'll
later. But I'll put the life dinner framework in the show notes. Huge points. Do it. Try it out.
Quick afterthoughts. Okay. So, race director email of the week.
Oh yeah, so this one came. I had to flip an event, offer up a virtual option for this marathon and half marathon a little while back, and if I could read it.
Do you want me to read it?
I got it here.
Okay. It makes me laugh. I'm looking at it right now. It makes me laugh.
So if you don't know, this segment is called Race Director Emails, where I'll keep it the identity hidden, but I do get emails from time to time that make me really smack my head and laugh or infuriate me or whatever it might be, but just really like shake in disbelief of what am I actually reading. Some people email me or the company, which is always just me, thinking that like it's not a real person behind the screen. Yeah. So it's just like sometimes it's like really bad. Like people are cruel.
No,
especially when it comes to emails.
Yeah, cruel.
Yeah. But I can't find it. So okay, here we go. Race director email of the week. I am signed up for the 26.2 on Saturday. If I choose the new virtual option, will my family still have the ability to track me and my pace?
So to put that in perspective.
WTF.
Yeah.
You're going to go do a virtual
We don't have a chip on you.
Race on your own.
We don't have a timing system.
I don't know where you are, when you're doing it.
Yeah.
You have a whole month to do it.
Yeah.
Can your family track you?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Strava has some live
Do you have an
track,
iPhone?
a beacon in.
Yeah, beacon.
Find my friends, whatever you need. Garmin has tracking.
How would I be able to do that? I mean, sure, we use Run Sign Up, we have Race Joy. So these technologies are things that we can have at our race site of like people starting their Race Joy app while they're running with their phone and we can see you on course, things like that. But like, my God. Now,
I said, we should just offer this as a service. For a fee, we will show up anywhere you want.
with a timing system,
with a timing system,
RFID, and like broadcast your live result.
Yeah.
Now, now I put these emails aside. Mm-hmm. Like I don't respond right away because if I did, like my knee jerk would be like.
would be the first reaction.
Yeah. But also we'll kind of like see who this person is a little bit. And this one is like, seemed like a newer runner, very young, different generation. Right, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give this person a little bit more grace here of learning how these things work. Hey, it's just like understanding GPS. Like
I was about to say, maybe in the future we'll have satellite-based chips, who knows, for very cheap. Could work that way.
Yeah.
To be determined.
If you're a race director and want to remain anonymous in some of the emails you get, I will, on your behalf, read them to our audience, add it to our segment.
Send us your race director emails. We don't have to.
I know as a race director, you're getting some crazy shite.
And then Amazon purchases. So I'm bringing this up because I don't think you've had any Amazon purchases in the past week or so.
I got one almost. I couldn't find it on Amazon was the problem.
What was it?
It was a Hall wind meter.
What?
I need a picture. What were you going to get?
So I'm bringing this up because I just want to make you feel guilty and put it on your radar a little bit.
Okay.
I purchased all of the Valentine's gifts for Charlotte's class because Valentine's Day is coming up.
Oh,
and I have also purchased the Valentine's gifts for our kids. So,
wow.
And I've purchased the Valentine's Day gifts. And we don't do anything big for Valentine's Day, but for you. So just putting it on your radar. I've made some Amazon and Etsy purchases.
All right. I guess I need to get on Valentine's shopping. Yeah, it's race week that week, so I'm off the hook.
You won't even be there. Yeah, but I'm showing up, so you better show up.
Yeah. I really want to get one of these affordable.
I can't see it.
It's basically a tube that measures airspeed.
Oh, it looks like a rain tube almost.
Yeah, exactly, except the air comes in and then it pushes that little red disc up and it tells you how fast you're flying for like an ultralight, which I'm definitely kind of going more towards building the ultralight. I'd like to piece it together.
Topic for next week, perceptions of flying for our family.
Ooh,
That's a big one. I have that on the list.
This week I've been super interested in, for a flying update, the is it Experimental Aircraft Association, EAA, has like a home builders week, and they have all these really cool, I'm missing a few right now actually, like webinars on like building aircraft at home. There's this whole like really great network of support and resources. So been watching things on building your own aircraft, and it's totally normal thing.
We don't have a joint calendar, but we share each other's calendars.
Yeah.
So like we kind of use them together, where I'll put something on and then he won't, or vice versa. He's blown up our calendars with like 6 webinars a day. Yeah. I'm like, why are you so busy? So then I said, last night we were trying to reschedule our life dinner for this week, and I said, okay, which one do you want to compromise here?
Yeah, search and rescue or how to build an airplane.
Yeah.
Or it was engine selection.
Yeah. So he's compromising engine selection.
Yeah.
So
dedicated search and rescue.
Yeah. So
I'm just not there with engine selection yet. I need an aircraft before I need an engine.
Okay.
I don't even need an engine.
No, you don't. But I mean, you haven't been able to fly. The weather's been so bad.
I am itching.
I know.
I need to fly. The scooter's almost ready. So the scooter tow is almost ready. I think I'm almost ready for a test, and then get trained up on it and see what we can do.
We need to go lay out the line on the runway and see how long it is just on the side.
So I'm building an old Yamaha Riva 125 scooter that has the rear wheel replaced with a drum for a Spectra tow line. And so it'll actually reel it in like a winch, and you're attached to it, and you have a glider, tow you into the air, and then you release and fly away.
Yeah. All right.
So that's on the project list for flying.
Lots of projects. I mean, my mom's coming on Thursday, and we have to build things in here by Thursday in this room.
It's funny. We won't show it. Like, we could pan the camera. So we have like some kind of like fancier camera lights, and then like a camera on a tripod, and it kind of looks like we've done a good job with our little mini studio. But literally right there is a waiting couch and a bed. So if anyone came in, it looks like we have like full-on porno setup.
Well, so I sent a picture to a few of my friends, and I said, podcast or porno? And they were like, porno for sure.
We're not doing that. I'm sure we've already been flagged on the
I know. No, that's not what it's for. But we are building a divider to like make it more, private. And even that bedroom more private, because we have so many kids that we've lost bedrooms in our house, right? We don't have an extra one. So we've making a makeshift bedroom in this bonus room, but unfortunately right now it's right next to our podcast setup. So
good times. I think we're right at about an hour, and we can shut her down there. I was just seeing if we had any more requests come in for what to talk about on the pod, but yeah, we are good. Carb intake, gel intake during race. How much is too much? Interesting.
Oh, that's a good topic.
I mean, we kind of hit that last week at Houston Marathon.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, like how much is too much? Too much is when you can't handle it. So you're puking, you're crapping,
your stomach's overloaded, or you're taking in too much salt, you're swelling.
Well, I'm not talking about salt though. That's the key thing.
Oh, that's true. Carbs.
I'm talking about carbohydrates. Yeah. So specifically carbohydrates, I really don't think there's like technically a limit to what you should not take. It's going to tell you what the limit is based on what you can tolerate.
Bloating, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So salt, on the other hand, oh my gosh, I saw this like athlete intake form for a coach. I was really interested in who was coaching this athlete, because the athlete was put up a like 8-page pre-Houston like tips for racing.
That's right, we were reading that. That was crazy.
It was like at 0.5 miles, you're going to turn left and the wind is going to be 33 degrees at 8 miles an hour. And it was like days before the race.
It was like at every water stop, make a complete stop and take two full cups and then do this. It was
too much. And as like a private coach, I was looking at it and I was like, am I not doing enough like for my athletes? Because this guy is getting like a book written pre-race.
But you know what? You've lost athletes though, because
they want that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's not what is going to get you anywhere. Look at all the athletes that had very simple like training and simple instructions on how to race.
Yeah.
Because your brain just can't handle that. Like split into like 3 parts and they race incredible. This guy had 8 pages of stuff. Turned out he wasn't registered for the race for Houston.
What?
At the end of the day, this guy got on there and was like freaking out. He's like, I don't see my bib number published, like to go to packet pickup. When should I have gotten an email? It's like your coach had like 10 pages and it didn't include, are you registered?
That is so funny.
So I was kind of like,
I didn't know that.
I was laughing my ass off at that. So I had to know who this guy's coach was. And he was like, I'll tell you after the race, kind of thing. All these people wondering who his coach was, because they're like, this is amazing data to have.
Well, you
have a very dedicated coach. But then I finally figured it out. This athlete intake form said all these things, pretty typical stuff, like how much do you run, what's your PRs, da 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 da. At the part on sodium, it was like, how much do you take in sodium? 1,000 milligrams or less? And that was the lowest option. Then it was
what?
And then it was 1,000 to 2,000, 2,000 to 3,000. And I was like,
I'd be a whale if that happened.
800, maybe 1,000. 800 is my max.
That's crazy.
For hot Houston weather, per hour, milligrams, 800. And this guy had 1,000 as the minimum selection. And so he's obviously promoting to push his athletes to have more than 1,000 milligrams.
Because some of those carby things have sodium too, and then people try to supplement sodium on top, and so there's this whole balance that like
I call it big
creates
salt. No, it's called big salt. It's like big oil or like this.
Of
people
course.
are selling salt, which costs next to nothing, and they put a fancy dude bro name on it
to whatever for your performance and hydration. There's like this perfect ecosystem, and overloading it with salt is not going to do it.
Right, but it's just being driven by the market, not by research and like physiological need of sodium.
Well, I know somebody that drinks like 3 elements a day, and they're like, "Well, I cramp without it."
No,
and
you cramp because
not sure about that.
You cramp because of muscle fatigue resilience. You cramp because of not enough carbohydrates, lack of strength. And then maybe some sodium. But like that's on the bottom of the list at the end of the day. The more and more I've raced and the better I've raced, the less sodium I've taken in. And I don't care if you're salted out, heavy sweater, whatever. For sure, some people have greater salt needs, balance it. But like there is a limit to sodium, not really to carbohydrates in my opinion. My opinion.
I have a friend that in her 100, she started taking caffeine pills in the middle of the night. To try to get through that middle of the night hump.
Wait, what? Caffeine pills?
Some caffeine pills, yeah.
What do you mean the middle of the night hump? To sleep?
In a 100-miler.
Oh, I thought you meant sleeping in the middle of the night.
In her 100-miler, started taking caffeine pills to, stay awake. Well, they were salt pills. So she was like,
I would get the worst Charlie horses.
Salt like crazy, like popping them like popcorn, not realizing how much salt was in those caffeine pills.
Yeah.
And by the end, she doubled in size, like just swelling. Seriously.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, be careful with the salt. It's not driven right now by the best of information. So you don't need that much. I was shocked at that value though.
Less than 1,000.
Yeah, make sure you're 1,000 or more. Oof.
Yeah.
Not needed by far.
All right.
That's not
I
hour
digress.
20. This is our longest episode
we're so
ever.
sorry.
So sorry.
Yeah.
But Lynn, I'm sorry. There's one person that's like, make them shorter.
And he was literally here complaining that we didn't have, and I didn't even touch on everything.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
So next
Nice
time,
work.
less is more.
All right, everybody, have a great week. It is Monday, January 27th.
It'll be February next week.
Heading into
Holy
February. We take off next week for Black Canyon.
Yep.
For me, I'm 12 days away from running 100 kilometers on trail.
Yep. And then we get into Jackalope.
And then head home and put on a big race for Jackalope Jam. 1 mile to Cone and back. Come join us. How many can you do?
There's supposed to be a cold front coming potentially.
Front. Yeah.
So like there always is for Jackalope.
Yeah, and we'll update again on Monday before we head off to Black Canyon.
Yeah,
So
with my fantasy league. All right, bye y'all.